Welcome back to Farm Frame Custom Woodworking. I'm glad you're back. Today, I'm building another mailbox post. This one's gonna be a custom one. There's an existing 4x4 that comes up out of the ground that has a plastic mailbox attached to it right now. We're gonna take the plastic box off. We're gonna build this custom one. It's gonna be like a sleeve and slide down over top of that and be a little bit more decorative, more designed. So what I had, we're making it out of some pine I have. It was rough cut, so I've milled it down so it's nice and flat now. I'm going to cut it to some of the length, and then I'm going to square up the edges, make a box, put it over top, decorate the box, and extend the top. So I have my lumber all milled down right here. The bottom section is going to be 36 inches tall. So I'm going to cut 4 of these at 36 inches, and then I'm going to take them to the table saw, and I'm going to put a 45-degree bevel on the edges, and then I'm going to use some good old tape and put them together, glue it up, and put some brad nails in it. Make a box, get that to fit over top of the post that sticks up out of the ground, and then decorate it up a little bit. So I'm gonna go ahead and start milling this down and go from there. We got those cut down to size. I'm gonna take them over to the table saw, square up the edges, and then get the widths out of here that we need, and then we're gonna build the box. Alright guys, so I don't have a joiner. So what I do is I use the table saw. I take my square edge, my level, I put it up against the fence, and then I take my board and I put it up against here. So the reason I use the level and my board is shorter is so now when I slide this through, I will slide that level through as well. So if I use just the fence, when I start at the blade, by the time I get to the blade, I'm right here. But only half of my board is on the fence. So if there's a knot or a bubble on the other side of this fence, on the other side of this board some way, it's going to turn it. That's going to change my line. It's going to make it so it's not square. So if I have the level in here, now my reference point isn't the end of the fence, it's this level, because the level I keep straight against the fence the whole time. So then when you run it through, you can have a reference point all the way back here at the end of your board that will reference that and give you a straight edge. So I'll show you how I do it and we'll go from there. Alright guys, so that'll reference your side right up, get them really pretty close. So these are the two that I did on there. I mean, if you were joining them, you could go ahead and join them together that way. So now that I've got one side done, I can go ahead and I can make my cuts that I want referencing the fence because I have a straight edge. So I don't need the level now. Since the bottom of this is going to be just a square box, and then the outside is going to get decorative facing on it all the way around, or decorative molding, I can cut these down and just butt them together and nail through them, and that'll give me a reference point that I want. That'll give me a size. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a couple of these at 3 5/8. I'll have 2 at 3 5/8. And then the other ones will be 5 1/8. So that's what I'm going to do with these. Then we'll cut them down and we'll box them up and see how the plan is going to work. Now my post out front is a 4x4, so it should be 3.5 by 3.5. But I'm going to give myself 1/8 of an inch. I probably should do a 1/4 just to have a little bit of wiggle room in there, and then I can shim it if I need to get over top of that post without having to do some work to it. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to do 3 5/8. I'm going to leave it right there. I'm going to need 2 of them at 3 5/8. Alright, so just to make sure I got the right measurements. So, alright, so I have 1 5/8 inches here. I'm going to come across here as 3 5/8. Add those two together, should give me 5 1/4, as long as my math is true. So I'm going to need to cut 2 of these at 5 1/4, and then I can put this together as my box. Alright, 2 of them at 5 1/4. I'm just going to take one of these, I'm going to glue the edge, lay it down here on the top of the saw, and I'm going to air nail them together. I'm going to use brad nails, 18 gauge. Get this down here like that, line up that bottom edge. Like I said, I'm using 1 1/4 inch brad nails, 18 gauge. Get out of this inside track right here, just so that it doesn't dry up in there and cause problems when I go to slide it on the post. Got a little bit on the outside edge. So we'll go ahead and do the opposite to the other one. Set it that way. All right, clean up the inside track. Clean up the side a little bit. Clean up the saw. Put the bead on there and we're gonna let her squish a little. I really don't want it to squish out too much. Alright, got it all lined up the way I want it. Clean up that. A little bit of squeeze out. Tip her over. We'll get this other edge. Alright, so there is the sleeve. It's going to go over the bottom post. We got it all built. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get some decorative corners put on here. I'm going to put a cap in here. I don't know if I'm going to go with a cap or if I'm going to go with another 4x4 that'll go down. Because the one I have is 32 inches. So I made this 36. And my thinking was that 32 is going to come here. That give me 4 inches of that other post that can go in. I'm going to extend up. And then I can put a cap around it, and then this one I can decorate some too, and that'll give me some a little more girth, a little bit more size, a little more stability. So I'm gonna go ahead and sand this a little bit, and then I'm gonna work on the decoration to go around this box, get this one where I was hoping to have it, and then we'll work on the top section. A 120 sandpaper on here. Ooh, gotta plug it in. Alright, there's a rough sand into it. We got that done. I'm going to go ahead and cut up some strips, put those on here as decoration. So this is just going to wrap the bottom to give it some more build up. I'm going to put some other piece on it. So then this is just going to square it up as well. And then the final piece that goes on around the bottom will get 45 in the corners. So I just got to cut this down to the right width, square it up, and then we can put it on there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this one on this side. It's the full sheet. I'll put a full one on here, and then I'm going to lap the ends on this side where this is lapped, so that'll overlap all of it. That's just going to add in a little extra strength. It might be nonsense, but that's just how I like to do things. I'm going to go ahead and cut 2 of these at 5 1/4, one for either side. Let's see how these work. Perfecto. Let's put a little glue on here. Squish her around. Six and 7/8. Voila! That's just the way we like it. Now we're cooking with butter. Alright, so now I'm going to make some parts for up through here to decorate these sides. I just got to figure out how wide I want them. So if I've got 6 and 7/8, I take out 2 inches. Well, what is 6 and 7/8 if you divide it by 3? Alright, so I have a 2 1/4 inch gap in the middle, 2 1/4, and I got 6 and 7/8, 2 3/8 in the middle, 2 1/4 on each outside edge, and that'll give me what I want, I think. Haha! Oh boy. Alright, so now I'm going to try and add a little extra detail to the front of this. I'm going to bring this down to about a 1/4 inch, I think. Alright, so I'm using some setup blocks here. I got 3/16. I'm going to set this up so my saw blade's right there. What I want to do is I want to put a little detail into these things. So I'm going to bring this over to 1/4 inch. And I think all I'm going to do is rip one path down here. I might go 2, but I just want to put a little detail into the front of it. And then it'll go up on there. All right, so let's see how this is going to look. Alright, so all it does is put just a little extra detail in there, and then I'll go ahead and 45 these and put them on the front of there. What I'm trying to do is on the back side of here, I need a 45-degree angle that goes from here down, so that these will overlap on the outside edge of that post, and you won't see the corner. They'll meet up nice on the corner. So that's what I'm going to try and do is set up now. I'm going to test it on this piece because obviously I can't use this, so I can cut out this little bit and I can figure out if I'm in the right spot. This seems just about perfect. There might be a little bit there, but I'm all right with that. I can work with that. So we're gonna test it out and see how we do. All right, so I'm gonna test it out before I cut any more of them. See how I like it. All right, I think that's gonna work. So I can go ahead and cut that 45 out of each of these. Since I'm trying to get these, I have to 45 these. I'm gonna try. I think I can do it with my miter gauge on here and run these through on the same angle, and it get me. If I put them upside down, it should get me what I'm looking for. So now we have to make 4 of these. So I'll go ahead and put this one side on and see how it turns out. Get this put on here, line it up, put a few brads in it, and I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a little glue on here, put this on here, one right there, get my speed square. So there's one side. Now I just have to duplicate it. I'm gonna add a little more detail down here on the bottom yet, but all right, let's go ahead and get some more cut up. All right guys, so for the top part of my mailbox post there, took some rough cut 2x4s and I planed it, and then I ripped the edges off them on the table saw here, got them down to the dimensions I want. So what I did is I'm gonna glue these two together, and then they're gonna go right in top of here. Should be pretty, there we go. So then they'll go down in there. And we have an overall height of 60 inches. So these are gonna go down in here 4 inches. And once they get down there 4 inches, they'll sit on top of the other post that this is gonna slide onto. So then we'll have an overall height of 60 inches. Now I'm gonna put an arm that comes out to hold the mailbox and to hold it up. So now I gotta get these glued together and get them to go together and hold up. And so I'm gonna glue them and clamp them. And then once they get done, we'll come back and we'll get going on the rest of it. Alright guys, so we're getting some glue in here. We're going to spread this out. And then we'll put these two together, we'll clamp them up and then let them ride. Yeah, you can spread that glue around with, you can go get a fancy glue spreader if you want. But they work alright. I have one. I find that it's just easier. Just wipe her off on the edge of the board. Look at that glue. That one comes right clean just about. Marriage them up. I'll go ahead and get a couple clamps on here. Just make sure they stay square when you're clamping them. Mine's wanting to slide around a little bit. Put a little sideways pressure on it like that. Spin this around. Get one on this other end. Maybe we'll get enough here. Let's see. I'll do one more, just for good measure. All right, let's leave that one together like that. Let her dry up and see what we got tomorrow. All right, guys. So we got the upper support for the mailbox post all put together, it's glued together. Took it out of the clamp. Now let's go ahead and clean up this seam right here a little bit on both sides. Give it a quick sanding, get rid of some of the glue. And then we're going to put it in there and see what we've got. See if we can get this thing put together. Alright, so we got that done. Now I'm going to go ahead and get this put inside of the base. And when we get that put in, then we'll go ahead and trim this out. And that'll basically just about finish her up. So let's get her going. Okay, so I want this to fit down inside of the base by 4 inches. So I'm just going to measure up from the base here, or from the bottom of this 4 inches. Put my mark on here. And I'm going to put a line all the way across it. And that way I can line it up on the base and get it where I want it. All the way across. Get a couple screws. I'm using a 3-inch exterior grade groove on this. I'm going to drill a screw right down through here. I'm going to put 2 on either side of it. Then I'm going to paint this anyway so I can go ahead and fill those in. So that's what we're going to do now. Alright, so you can see I have my line on here. Go ahead and slide this down in. Get it lined up how I want it. Full send the screw on that side. Make sure it's lined up how I want it on this side. Alright, so now we have the top piece in here. We'll go ahead and get this trimmed out and be pretty close to the end. Now for the top of this, I do have a lighted top capper that I'm going to put on here, and I'll show you that when we get done. Let me go ahead and rip down some boards, cut up some stuff for this. I'm going to put another beveled edge on here. So let's go ahead and get that done. What I have here is a piece of rough cut 2x4. It's actually 2 inches thick and 4 inches wide. I've planed it down to get a smooth surface on both sides. Now I'm going to rip it down to use it as a top plate between the base and the bottom. I'm going to rip it down and make like a custom piece to go here and wrap here, and then I can bring my top part down and sit right on top of there. So that's what I'm going to do with this. I'm going to rip it down to 2 3/4 of an inch by 2 inches, and because what I want is I want that as 1 5/8 on there, so I want a 1 inch overhang. That'll give me a little bit of room to play with it. So that's what we're going to do here. Alright, so I got her cut down that way. Now I'm going to go ahead and rip this other edge off so I have 2 clean edges. Alright, so now we've got her ripped down that way we want. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to tilt the blade. And I'm going to cut a 45-degree angle on this because I want it to go from 45 on the outside edge up, and I want to have it so I have a 3/4 inch space here. So those boards will sit on the top of here, and I'll just give it a little more detail. So to get that, I'm going to use this, which is a digital angle finder, or digital angle gauge. So all I do is I take this. So I just take it and I set it on here. Alright, so we got it set to 0. Then we can go ahead and bring our blade up. We take this and put it on the side of the blade. Now you want to make sure it's below the side of your teeth. So the teeth will give it will throw it off. And I just want to turn it until I get to 45 degrees. I don't know if it's coming up in there. Actually, I might do a 60 degree. Alright, so we got her set to 60 degrees. Now I'm going to put my board in here and run it through. So what I'm trying to figure out is I want to have a 3/4 inch lip on the top of here, and then I want the rest of it just be angled off. I'm not so worried about what the lip is on the bottom, but I do want 3/4 of an inch back here, maybe a little more. Alright, so that right there is going to give me just about 1 inch at the top of there, which I'm okay with that. And that'll bring me down, leave me about a 3/4 inch down here at the bottom of this, which I think that'll be alright. That's kind of what I'm looking for. So go ahead and run it through here. And okay, so that's kind of what I was going for. Just an angle with a flat part for my board to sit on top, lip on the front. Just gives a little more decoration. We'll go ahead and get some of these cut up and we'll put them on there and see how it looks. Alright, how do these babies look on here? Do they line up alright, or do I need to trim them? Alright, so it looks like I gotta do a little bit of finish, cutting them in, but that's okay. Let's see if I can get these trimmed up. Alright, I think we're good. Got them on there. Got them all nailed in. Figured out. May have a little gap here because it might not be quite perfectly square, but we'll get it figured out. This is the problem with working with some rough cut sometimes. But yeah, let's see what we got. Alright, I'm going to be using some Type Bond 3 and some 3-inch wood screws to put this together. Just put two 3-inch screws right down through the top of there. Some wood glue. Yeah, it's going to leave a little bit of a gap here, so I'll have to fill them in. Alright, so there's that. We'll go ahead and get the top pieces start getting cut up, put on here. We can wrap that and we'll go from there. Alright, so now I got this board. I planed it down 3/4 of an inch. I'm going to rip an edge of it straight on here using my level. Alright, so now I did a little decoration of those. There's a 1/4 inch over and 1/4 inch deep or so. So that's what I'm going to do on these now. Alright, so now I've got the little decoration put in there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim some of these down to 1 inch, because these should be 1 3/4 inches. Yeah, 1 3/4 inches, so I want them 1 inch. And what that'll do is allow me to overlap the other side of this. So they'll be like this on there, and then so that'll give you the same reveal on both sides. Alright, so I've got that ripped down to 1 inch. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these down. I think it's 22 1/4 inches I need to go up that. So I'm going to try and make a couple of them, get one side set and put on there, and then kind of see what it looks like from there. I'm going to go ahead and get some Tight Bond 3 on here. Get this centered on here and nail it in. Just using some 18 gauge brad nails, 1 1/4 inches long. Alright, let's go ahead and put this thing together. Get a little glue up here. Nail down at the bottom of this. Get it in here started. We'll get the other side in. Top up here. Now we kind of just get them all corrected up. Alright, so that's the one side. Now I go ahead and turn it around. Now I got the other side cut because we did the same measurements. We'll go ahead and put this side in. Alright, so there's that. So now we gotta finish up these sides. But what I'm gonna do for these is I need to put a shelf out here for my mailbox to actually sit on. And it's supposed to be, I believe, at 41 inches. So I'm gonna build a little shelf, come off from here and out. What it's gonna do is it's gonna give it a look of more support, a little bit more strength. And I'm going to set it right on top of here, and I'll bring it out and I'll bolt it, and I'll screw it right onto here and then the base. So it's going to be 5 inches across, 5 inches tall, and I'll probably do 18 or 20 inches out. I'll probably do 20 inches because I have a pretty good sized mailbox, and that way it'll give me room, and I'll leave a gap at the back. That way the mailbox will sit down in there and sit right up flush. And on the back side of this, I think I'm going to angle on the back of that little box, I'm going to angle that piece a little bit so that the water will have a place to run off it. So, but we're going to try and do that. So I rip some boards down to get them to the 5 inches that I want. I'm going to do solid across the top. I'll do I'll do the sides all the way down, and then the bottom part I'll put in between. I'll probably use brad nails and some glue, and then we'll see what we can do. So we'll go from there. Let's get her done. All right, so What I'm going to do is I'm going to straighten this piece up, use the old level trick, and then I'm going to rip it down to 5 inches final width, and then I'm going to cut it into a couple different boards and go from there. So I'm cutting this board up to make the top piece. Here, I made this 17.5 inches. That'll leave me a 1/2 inch in the back. So I need to cut a piece for the back of here. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to put these two on the top of here. That'll give me that thickness of the two of them. And then I'd have to measure here, and I give me my piece. So 3.5 inches. So I want it to be 5 inches overall height. So I need to make and I'm going to overlap. I'm going to put this on top and then these underneath. So I'm going to pick up 3/4 of an inch on the top board. So that gives me 4.25 total height I need of these. So I need to rip these two down to 4.25. And I can rip this one down to 4.25 also. Alright, so what I want to do is I want to put like a double scallop kind of on the front of this thing. I think that's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to take it over to the bandsaw and see what I can get done. Hey, that looks pretty good. So I'll trace this on the other one and do it over again. And there we got the other one. Go ahead and get a little bit of sanding on there. It'll turn out pretty good. Alright, got them sanded up. They match pretty close. We'll go ahead and get this thing built. Go ahead and put some wood glue in here. Use the air nailer. Put some 18 gauge brads through it, 1.25 inches long. Now I want to make the bottom for this thing. And I think I'll do that, screw it on there, and then I'll screw the top down to it. And that way if I need to get it back off, I'll be able to take the top off with screws. Alright, so we got it ripped down. We'll get it put in here. So we'll get a couple screws. Now, I don't think I'm going to glue it in because if it should get broke or I need to replace it for any reason, then it'll be a lot easier without it being glued in. So we go ahead and put this on here, leave our 1/2 inch gap in the back so the back of the mailbox can go down in there. It's actually going to need to be bigger than that because I need to have my stuff go on here. So I'm going to put that on first, I think, and then I can put this right up next to it. Just leave my gap that way. Let me go ahead and make my trim for here. Alright, so there's that. So now this can go on here. I'm going to go ahead and put some pre-drill these. Countersink them. Alright, so there's that. So the next step in it is go ahead and finish it up, sand it up, and go ahead and finish up some of the seams and paint it. I'm going to paint it white. And then I have a black solar light cap that goes on top of it. So, but yeah, that's it for today. All right, guys, so we're back with the decorative mailbox post that we've got started here. Now I just got to go ahead and finish up and fill in some of the gaps that we have around our edges and the cracks. Just finish that up a little bit, and then we can sand it a little bit and then paint it. Now I put a wrap to this one, so we'll go ahead and do that a little bit right now. I'm using some DAP plastic wood putty in some of these spots. This is good for interior and exterior. Might be a little chilly out here today. It's only 49 in here right now, but we're gonna try it. Alright, so there's the handiwork for today. We're gonna let this dry up, and then we'll sand her and go ahead and possibly put a second coat in on some of these areas. Then we'll go ahead and paint it up and we'll put it on our post. Alright guys, so our fill in here is dried up. We're going to go ahead and do a quick sand of this and then put some paint on this baby. Alright guys, I'll bring it back in, show you what it's like when we're done. So we got her all installed, put out in the front, got the mailbox on it, got the solar light on the top. Just want to thank you guys for watching. If you guys liked it or got anything out of it, go ahead and give me a like and subscribe at the bottom, give me a comment. I appreciate it. Thank you. Alright, that's a wrap on this one, guys. I appreciate it. Thanks for watching and have a great day.